Our members of Parliament just don't know what's going on. They don't have sufficient information, they're not given sufficient information, they don't spend enough time studying what's going on, and consequently, how can they really criticize, effectively?
There is no sorrier station in this world than to be a member of the Canadian Parliament, in a way. You have absolutely no authority or responsibility to actually get things done.
I think we all recognize that we've got a Parliament that's basically impotent, that the question period becomes a farce. Everybody's trying to embarrass the government on issues. Nobody's really digging in seriously and dealing with substantive issues.
I think I acquired a lot more detailed knowledge of how really broken our political system is in the time that I've spent on the Hill, and how really ineffective Parliament is in representing my views and the views of ordinary Canadians in Ottawa, and the extent to which the culture of the Hill is really oriented toward theatre and melodrama rather than toward real accountability or exercising effective oversight over what the government does.
So the result is we have seen the public representatives in our national Parliament rendered into vacuous ciphers whose only role is to be there as different mannequins whose strings are being pulled, but the same play is being performed. And that is not a Parliament. That is not representation of the people. That is a complete functional abdication of the role of being a representative of the people of this country.
I think that the only way that we will ever achieve some degree of continuing military effectiveness is if the Standing Committee on National Defense or some similar committee of the House of Commons or of the House and the Senate were to somehow gain more authority. I think there's ways of doing this without actually changing the Constitution.
You can make big mistakes in our system if you move too quickly. And I always say the biggest mistake that we make is not debating something in America. In that sense, I think our form of checks and balances is preferable. You know, in a parliamentary system, you can go charging off and make some pretty big mistakes that accumulate over time and are hard to get out of.
Canadians have come to the judgment that they could either be inadequately defended expensively or inadequately defended cheaply. And they've come to a rational judgment that spending less money is the way to go. Now, whether that has a long-term societal effect on Canadians' psyche or self-worth or anything of that nature, I don't know. I'm not a Canadian. I haven't been placed in this position. I haven't implicitly surrendered my defense to somebody else.
There's a moral problem to this, because ultimately most great issues are moral. And it's a very dangerous notion to espouse that somehow or rather we don't have to do our share because somebody else is in a position where their own self-interest mean that they'd have to look after us anyway. Now, that's not the way I was raised. But it's certainly the view of some people in this country.
I don't know anybody in America that wants Canada to disappear as a nation. Nobody. I find Canadians worried about it all the time. I can't figure out why it is that you all worry about it all the time, but you don't embrace the premier symbol of national sovereignty. These are your armed forces.
Well, I think that there is absolutely no way that an army of any state can sustain a war-fighting role without the full support of the people behind it. And I think this connection between the army and the people is more important, really, than the connection between the army and the government. And if it doesn't have the support of the people, then it will probably fail.
The defense of Canada isn't the responsibility of the Canadian Armed Forces. They are the instrument of Parliament. And Parliament is acting as the representative of the people, and therefore the people are actually responsible for the defense of Canada.
But we need to have a vigilant Parliament. We need to have
political leadership that is informed, concerned, and aware of what is happening in the armed forces. After all, the armed forces spend billions of dollars. They have the Canadian national reputation at hand. The employees are all armed. And the welfare of these people, their very lives, depend upon the decisions taken by members of Parliament. So hope is not a method. Real policies, real concern, real political action, that's what's going to serve Canada best.